Welcome back to Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles: The Last Ronin. When we last left off, Michelangelo had broken in to defeat the last Oroku, the last member of Shredder's family, of his clan. But he was defeated and thrown to the streets below and left for dead. That's when April O'Neil found him, revealing to us who he was, and placed him into a bed to heal up. You have found yourself at the Comicstorian channel, where we take some of your favorite trade paperbacks and single issues and we break them down into digestible bites to help you understand. We then read them dramatically back to you. Alright, so today, guys, we're going to be doing Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles: The Last Ronin issue number 2. It literally took about 3 months for this one to come out, so I haven't been delaying it. But let's get into it. We're going to start at the beginning with April and Michelangelo waking up. Alone, laying awake in her bed, April O'Neil begins to cry. Everything happened so fast back then. Her and Casey were setting up dinner to tell everyone the big news, that they're getting married. But that's when Raph came storming into the apartment, beaten and bloodied. She tried to ask what happened, but he just yelled that they were ambushed and began to throw all of the food that was set onto the nice clear table to the floor. A few seconds later, Michelangelo and Donatello came in with their own wounds, carrying Master Splinter. Master Splinter, he was in bad shape. Casey grabbed his bat and he and Raph got ready to go out looking for Leonardo, but thankfully, Leo managed to get back after letting the others get ahead. Master Splinter said that it was always a matter of time until the Oroku and the Hamato clans clashed. Kairi was trying to end it once and for all. It seemed like things might end up being okay, but Raph went back out onto the streets that night. In our current time period, April wakes up groaning, rolling out of bed, hardly able to keep herself up with the loss of an arm and a leg. She grabs her prosthetic arm off the nightstand, fitting it into the empty place where her arm used to be. But as she fits her leg, she fumbles and it rolls to the other side of the room. She sighs and then laughs, looking over to Casey's mask, asking, "Hey Casey, little help here?" Out in the kitchen, Michelangelo strikes a match, watching it burn out. And Leo tells him that it's hard to believe that April is still alive, huh? Hard to believe that anyone survived that. Michelangelo says, yeah, right. He strikes another match in an attempt to light the stove, stating that the last thing that he remembered was an explosion, and then, well, he was pretty bad when he woke up. Couldn't remember anything for days. The others talk amongst themselves, and soon it becomes too much for Michelangelo. As the kettle whistles, he just slams his hands down, telling them, "It wasn't enough! It's never enough for you!" Raph asks, "Yeah? At least I wasn't the one who tried to off myself at the first whiff of a failure." Michelangelo grabs the kettle, throwing it, yelling, "You are a stupid fool! You always made our entire lives about you! I fought every battle that you guys had, even the idiotic ones that you started, and you still want to judge me? The mission at the tower was always going to be a one-way ticket, from the start. For our father, for our family, for our honor." But as Michelangelo calms down, his brothers are gone. They are nothing more than his conscience speaking to him, figments in his imagination as they have all passed. Michelangelo grabs the kettle, putting it down on the stove, setting down 4 cups, filling the teapot. He sighs, stating that he should have been dead from that fall, but here he is, still alive, still able to fight. He may have lost one battle, but the war goes on. They've all stolen so much from him, but no more. He will finish what they started, what Master Splinter raised them to do. The last Oroku must die. And that's when he begins to remember how things ended for Raph, when he went after Kairi head on. What truce they had been broken. The Hamato and the Foot were at war, and there was no turning back. Raphael took the fight to them, slaughtering everyone that his size could reach. He carved his way through all of the foot soldiers, shouting for Kairi to come out and face him. And even as he was cut and stabbed, he didn't stop. There was so much blood. All Raph could see was red. As the last soldier fell, Kairi finally appeared. They fought, leaving mark after mark on each other's body. An opening here, a block there, and soon Kairi was as bloody as he was. Eventually, they fell into the water, both struggling to finish each other off. Kairi grabbed one of the kunai from Raphael's legs, and just as Raph stabbed her in the back, she stabbed him in the neck. The last bit of air left Raph's lips, and soon the waters also turned red. As Michelangelo reminisces with his brother's memories, April asks what the hell is he doing. He should be resting. Mike says that he couldn't sleep, so he made some tea. Hopefully, that's okay. April laughs. Of course, this was your kitchen way before we moved in. The tea's from when you lived here. Hopefully it's still good. But as April pours herself a cup, Michelangelo stares for a moment and April asks, "What? Looking at my arm? Well, I also have one just like it for a leg. Little souvenirs from the last time we saw each other, Michelangelo. We have some serious catching up to do, but not before we get some breakfast. None of that synthetic crap. Real breakfast with real eggs. Courtesy of the black market. Fresh batch too. Can't let Salmonella finish what Hiroto couldn't." Speaking of, word on the street is that Hiroto isn't too happy about his cage being rattled like that. Michelangelo says, yeah, he's still trying to process everything. The fall could have killed him back then, but instead, April flips the eggs. Look, I'm no Donatello, but it doesn't take a genius to see that your mutation has progressed over the years. You're bigger, stronger, and you're healing amazingly fast. Michelangelo rubs his head, stating that maybe not everything. It's all so fuzzy. Still don't even know how I got back into the lair. April tells him to hold that thought. Casey, breakfast! Michelangelo jolts up asking, wait, is Casey alive too? And a young woman walks in and April says that she would like him to meet her daughter, Casey Marie Jones. Before Michelangelo could ask, Casey walks up smacking his hand. Yeah, we kind of already met. You were a lot less conscious and a lot more bloody. This also might sound weird, but I've heard a lot about the turtles for my entire life, and I never thought I'd actually meet one. You're supposed to be the funny one, right? After wolfing down her breakfast, Casey burps, stating that after 2 hours of kendo, that should hit the spot. Michelangelo laughs. Yeah, I almost forgot what a real meal tastes like. Casey tells him just not to expect anything fancy in Rock Bottom. Michelangelo asks what is that, and April says that it's just a nickname. New York's split into 3 districts now, the top, the middle, and the bottom. Rock Bottom's the old street level for people like them. Casey says, yeah, then there's the rest of them, the resistance. April begins to collect the plates, explaining that they'll tell him all about it after he gets some rest. Now get some clean sheets, huh? Casey jumps up telling Michelangelo to come on. She wants to show him something. So they walk to the gym and Mike asks, kendo, huh? And Casey tells him, yeah, been doing it since I was little. Other stuff too. Hard not to when you kind of grow up in the middle of this. Really does blow my mind standing here with you. The stories that I've heard, the photos that I've seen, you were pretty much storybook heroes to me. I even tried to learn as much martial arts as I could on my own mostly. Spent a lot of time watching old training videos and lots of reading. Casey heads over to the table, pulling out a cloth, revealing the items that Michelangelo had laid out before passing out. He stares for a moment before telling her, thank you. She picks up Leo's old sword, stating that she saw who he was. She didn't want to leave anything behind considering what he's about to do. She understands why, the honor behind it all, but don't worry, nothing was said to her mother. Michelangelo tells her thanks again, but Casey then grabs Master Splinter's book, stating that he can actually thank her by telling her more about this. Her Japanese isn't the greatest, but she understands enough to know that this is special, handwritten like a journal, right? It's like instructions for all kinds of martial arts styles, techniques, and important life lessons. Michelangelo tells her, yeah, something like that. But Casey then says that she has a question. Where has he been? He tells her that when things got bad, when it was too much to handle, he started walking into the mountains. A kid from the sewers of lower Manhattan straight into the wild. Bad idea. He collapsed. It could have been days, weeks, maybe longer, but he wasn't sure how long he laid there in the mountains. But his mutant body would not die. He started to hear voices telling him that his destiny was incomplete, that he couldn't leave just yet. And eventually it got warmer, and the mountains provided sustenance and solitude, allowing him to take time to look into his soul for answers. He's read and reread Father's book, looking for some kind of balance, maybe even some peace. He spent years alone, thinking that this was where he was supposed to be, like a stupid reward or deserved punishment. But that's not the way of the world. The real world found him again, and he almost let it take him. A group of people found him, and at first, he welcomed the pain. At least he felt something after all that time. He saw the looks on their faces, laughing, taking a life just to take a life, for fun, no honor, and that's when he got mad, really mad. He and his brothers were raised with respect and honor, trained from birth for redemption for their family. That was his destiny on the battlefield to the end. Father's book was the path to learn and master all forms of martial arts, to adapt to every challenge and every form of combat. He was the last of his clan, masterless, Ronin, and it was up to him to restore his family's honor. His training reached its end, and there would be no peace until he fulfilled that destiny. It was time to come home and face it, to complete his master's mission, to kill the last Oroku. Casey flips to the last page, reading no peace. What does that mean? And Mike quickly takes the book from her, stating that it means that he has some work to do. And Casey says good, he'll need her help. As he sets the book down with the other items, he tells her that he appreciates the offer, but he won't be responsible for anyone else getting killed because of him. Casey says, well, too bad, because she wasn't asking. He wouldn't be standing if it wasn't for them. They got trouble coming and he stirred up the pot. So if he doesn't want help taking out Hiroto, then stand in line. Mike pauses for a moment and laughs, and Casey asks, what's so funny? And he tells her that he is just trying to decide if she's more like her dad or her mom. Meanwhile, April is in her room, opening up the closet holding an old safe. She turns the dial and opens the small metal door. And after reaching in, she takes out a small robotic head, one that looks like a Fugonaut. And there you have it. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, The Last Ronin, issue number 2. Now, I apologize that this took so long to come out, but literally the book took 3 months to come out. Hopefully, they're not going to get any more delays and we'll be able to do this series as it comes out again. But this story only came out this week, so if you want to support The Last Ronin, show IDW that you want more of these comics, click the link down below and buy issues 1 and 2. The more sales that this book gets, the more chances of us getting more Last Ronin storylines will come out. I mean, Mike just told us a whole story about him learning his way in the woods. Why wouldn't we want that story as well? Either way, guys, don't forget, we also have a Patreon, patreon.com/Comicstorian, where you get ad-free versions of our content and you get a actual say in what content is coming out on this channel. Right now, everyone's voting on if we should bring the Vision storyline to you next week. And if you want to join that discussion in the next one, head on over to our Patreon, patreon.com/Comicstorian. Lastly, I just want to state, I did say we were going to start Guardians of the Galaxy this week, but this book dropped this week and I wanted to get it out because it gets so many requests. So next week, Guardians of the Galaxy, issues 1 through 6. Hope to see you guys there. Thank you so much. Have a good one.